In the last video, we learned how to do a trial. So we've learned how to do a test, which is just a simple roll of the dice to meet or beat a target to conduct some kind of activity. And then we did a trial, which is a series of rounds of rolling tests to accomplish a larger task, such as building a bridge or crossing a stream, and gaining enough successes as a team to do that. And we showed during the trial how we can use infections when somebody takes damage during a trial and it infects one of their core strengths, one of their fruit of the Spirit, how we use counseling with a sacred verse, a Bible verse, and the application, and then the other character shows responsibility and repentance. And that's the primary source of learning that we bring together with the Bible study wrap-up at the end of every episode. So we've done the test, we've done the trial, now we're going to do a battle. And a battle, like a trial, is a series of rounds of tests, but this time we're doing a little bit of strategy, we're fighting creatures on a map. So for this portion of the practice episode, you'll need your maps and discoveries book, and you'll need the practice battle that I have laid out for the team here. They will need their Light Raider markers. And so who's going to be blue? Aiden, like character is going to be blue. We're going to put that right here real quick. And then one for you and one for you. So now we have tokens for each of the player characters, and we also have tokens out here for the dark creature characters, the monsters, and other non-player characters that they're going to face. So we have all of that ready to go for the practice battle, and we're ready to begin. Are y'all ready?
Yep.
Okay. Way to go. You've learned how to test a skill, like move or craft, to earn a success, and you've learned how to make rounds of tests and earn successes to pass a trial. You've also learned how to use a sacred verse to restore a friend's core strength that became infected. Now you're just about ready for battle. In your battles in the Dragonlands, you'll face dark creatures like goblins and orcs under dragon oppression, and we call those people Aladoth, which means once born, and you also might face the dragons themselves. Mostly you'll use your fight ability. You'll also move your Light Raider tokens, these things, around on the battle map using your speed rating, which is affected by your move skill. You remember we made our speed and our might ratings when we created our characters. Now we're going to use those in battle. You do damage to your enemies according to the damage rating of your weapon and your might rating. So you don't have a damage rating because your weapons are common weapons. They're not very good. You haven't developed skills, so you don't have anything there. But your might rating is the damage you do. In the real world, God through Christ gave us armor that we carry with us every day. It helps to remember to temper that armor. So in your practice episode in the adventure journal, it has the full armor verse, which is Ephesians 6:11, and you can use that verse, put on the full armor of God so that you may take your stand against the schemes of the devil. We use that verse in the Light Raider's realm to temper our Keledan armor, which is what we call the armor of God. You'll have the opportunity to temper that armor before each battle, and you do that by reciting the full armor verse. Just as our real armor of God brings us peace and hope in Christ, your Keledan armor also has benefits in these fictional allegorical battles. A round of battle is one roll per player. If you succeed, you damage your opponent. If you fail and you're standing next to a creature, you'll take damage. You may also recite a sacred verse from memory while fighting. You can't read a sacred verse while fighting because you're in the heat of battle. You have to use them from memory. But when you use them from memory, you gain 2 wisdom points, so there's a benefit there. You can use the verses from your adventure journal. Saying the verse from memory, like I said, earns 2 wisdom points, and the rest is going to become clear as we continue the practice. Ready? Okay, Adventure Master, your next step in the practice battle is to lay out the battle map, and so you want to grab your maps and discoveries book and pull out the practice battle, which is the first map, and then we're going to lay out the pieces for the battle. So you have dark creature symbols on the tokens and on the battle map. You just want to place your tokens on there, and for this one we're going to use 3 of these that represent the orcs in the battle, and then we also want to place the player characters. And today, sometimes you'll get a chance to do some strategizing. Today, I'm just going to place your pieces on the first 3 Light Raider spaces. So we got 1, we got 2, we got 3, and then you can choose how to move from there, but we're going to ask you to move close to the creatures. Adventure Master, you also have your battle information box in the practice battle in this episode. So it's the maroon or burgundy box on page 12 there, and you can see it has all the stats for the battle. So it lists who you're fighting, in this case 3 scrawny coal orcs, and then it lists how fast they move, so speed 2. It lists the type of poison they have, so they can infect your player's gentleness or your player character's gentleness. And then it shows how much damage they'll do, so sort of their battle ability. So you'll see the damage symbol, which is the heart, with how much damage they do, which may be different between multiple weapons. In this case, they'll do damage to whether they hit your character with a scimitar or a crossbow bolt. Below that, you have the damage tracker. So as your characters do damage to the orcs, you can check off each damage box, and when they run out of boxes, you can knock them off the board or flip the token over, however you like to do it. Okay, players, your raid party found the dragon's fortress. Using the instructions in the scroll that you recovered from the raven in the quagmire, you snuck inside. Coal orcs guard the captive. They're pretty scrawny, but they roar with rage. You catch a flicker of fire in their joints, and the orcs probably think those little flames are blazing infernos. Watch out. Orc scimitars are sharp and dipped in poison. Fight! So for the AM, for the Adventure Master, you're going to want to show your players the Keledan armor quick reference, because now is the moment for your players to temper their Keledan armor by saying the full armor verse from memory. So you'll show them all the things that their armor can do. So the Belt of Truth makes you what we call uplifted. That means that you can take the highest die or the highest value of the dice on a roll. The Breastplate of Righteousness makes you immune from infection for that round. The Boots of Readiness increase the player's speed or the character's speed by 1 for that round. The Shield of Faith has 2 different effects that the players can use in the same or different rounds. They can do a shield bash to do damage to the bad guy, or they can take no damage in that round. The Helmet of Salvation allows them to re-roll if they roll a mishap, like Gavin did during the trial, and the Sword of the Spirit will allow them to do 2 extra damage during a round. So the players can say the full armor verse, and what we want them to do is check all the boxes on their character sheet for each piece of armor that they've tempered, and then erase those boxes as they use each piece. So for right now, do you want to temper your armor?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to have each of you say the full armor verse. So, Light, can you say the full armor verse?
Put on the full armor of God so that you can stand against the schemes of the devil. Ephesians 6:11.
Well done. Okay, so go ahead and check all the boxes on your character sheet under the full armor. So check all 7 boxes. You have 6 pieces of armor, but the shield has 2 boxes. All right, Comment, you want to say the full armor verse?
Ephesians 6:11. Put on the full armor of God so that you can stand against the schemes of the devil.
All right, you can check the boxes and subscribe. Can you say it?
Ephesians 6:11. Put on the full armor of God so that you can stand against the schemes of the devil.
All right, and you can go ahead and check your boxes as well. Okay, Adventure Master, now what we're going to do is describe the run, recite, fight, battle style of Light Raiders for your players. So in each round of battle, you can run, that means move. So you can move your character according to your speed rating, the number of spaces. You can recite, so you can recite a sacred verse. You can't read, but you can recite, and anytime you recite a verse, you gain 2 wisdom points to do different things during the game. And then you can fight, which means that you can roll to take a fight action or some other action if you wish, but today we're just going to use the fight action. against a creature. So for the recite, you can also use recite to counsel a friend, as long as you can do it from memory without reading out of the cadet handbook, out of the adventure journal. Okay, so today you have a verse in your adventure journal. You have a couple of verses, one gentleness verse, which is the calm down verse, Romans 12:19b, and you also have the master of all verse, which is Psalm 24:1. So the master of all verse is something that you can be ready to use, and declaring the High One's sovereignty, because that's what that verse does, over all creation might do some damage to these soulless dragon corruptions. And again, you're going to earn 2 WP, 2 wisdom points, if you recite that verse. And then Romans 12:19b might be a verse you use to counsel a friend if they take damage. We have our battle tracker on this page, just a copy of the same battle tracker that you have in the example, and we're ready to go. So now we're going to begin a battle round, which again is run, recite, and fight. And you're just going to guide your players through each round using the step-by-step instructions in the adventure manual. We have 4 steps here, and you just repeat them in a loop as you go from player to player to player through the rounds of battle until either the orcs are defeated or the light raiders retreat, which we hope they don't do today. Okay, so like, you're gonna go first, so I'm gonna move this a little closer to you, and our first step is run. So we run, recite, fight. So run, how are you going to move your character on the board?
I have a speed of 2, which means I can move up to 2 spaces. But instead, I'm going to attack that little guy right there in the middle.
You're going to attack 3. Okay, and would you like to recite a sacred verse?
I would. Psalms 24:1. The earth and everything in it, the world and its inhabitants, belong to the Lord.
All right, so you have used the master of all sacred verse, and this declaration of the High One's sovereignty over all creation, even these corrupted creatures, reduces portions of that orc back to its original coal ore as it was designed, and you do 3 damage to orc number 3. All right, orc number 3. And I'm just going to mark those right here in my guidebook for my own reference. What weapon are you going to use?
I'm going to use my common whip.
All right, and because our battle box says target -3 for this battle for these orcs, that means that makes it a 4. And so go ahead and roll, and you need to beat a 4 with your middle value.
Rolled a 6.
Okay, Adventure Master, so Aiden rolled a 6 and he only needed a 4 because we're using target -3. And that means that he hit the orc with his whip. So he, in his fight section, he tested fight. He used his whip against the orc, and we represented that by rolling the dice. And because his roll was successful, he hit the orc. If he had failed the roll, he would take damage from the orc, but since he succeeded in the roll, he's going to do damage to the orc. And so instead of doing a whole nother roll to count up damage, we just use the might rating on the character sheet, and that's why we created that number. It makes it easier so we don't have to do multiple rolls for attack and defense and damage either taken or given. So 1 roll to test fight and see if you have a hit or you took a hit, and then we just use the damage by what's on the character sheet. So Aiden, what is your might rating?
3.
3. So because your character like hit the orc, you do 3 damage to the orc. If Aiden's character like had extra skill in the weapon and had a better quality weapon, there might be extra damage he's done that's written in the weapon section on his character sheet, but because our characters are new, they don't have any extra damage. So Aiden, because he succeeded in hitting the orc and the number 3 is in his might rating on his character sheet, does 3 extra damage. We mark that on the battle tracker and we take orc number 3 off the board because that's all the spaces he had for damage. So Aiden's character like took out an orc in his first turn at battle. We're still in the first round, so now it is Tristan's character Comment. It's Comment's turn. So how will Comment move? So we run, we recite, and we fight. So run, how will Comment move?
He'll move right next to orc number 1.
Okay, and so it's orc number 1 who he'll be attacking?
Sure.
Okay, and so now you have an opportunity to recite. Do you want to use your recite?
Absolutely. Psalms 24:1. The earth and everything in it, the world and its inhabitants, belong to the Lord.
Okay, very good. So you gain 2 wisdom points. So like and comment both successfully use the verse and gain 2 wisdom points. And because you make this declaration of the High One sovereignty, you do 3 damage right off the bat to Orc 1. And now what weapon will you use?
I'll use my common crook.
You're going to use your common crook to attack Orc 1. So go ahead and roll to test fight. So what is your fight target?
7 at the moment.
7, so 7 minus 3, because we're using target minus 3 for this battle, is 4, because these are scrawny orcs. They're really easy.
7.
7, so you beat 7, so you successfully hit the orc with your common crook. And now you're going to do damage according to your might rating. So what is your might rating on your character sheet?
My might is 2.
Okay, so because your might rating is 2 in the little box next to might on your character sheet, you did 2 more damage to Orc 1. So we mark those in the boxes in our battle tracker, and Orc 1 is done. And we pull Orc 1 off the board. All right, only 1 Orc to go. Subscribe. Now it's your turn. All right, so run, recite, fight.
Right,
So
oh, right, yeah.
Are you gonna run? Where are you gonna move to?
I'm gonna move in between my friends here.
All right, right next to...
Attack the Orc 2.
You're gonna attack Orc 2. Okay, do you want to recite?
Yes, I'll recite.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Psalm 24:1. The earth and everything in it, the world and its inhabitants belong to the Lord.
Okay, great job. So gain 2 wisdom points for reciting a verse. And you've immediately done 3 damage to that orc. We're really learning how this works. And that only leaves 2 damage left on the orc. What are you going to use to attack the
I'll
orc?
be using my common sword.
All right, nice traditional weapon. What is your fight target?
Fight target of 7.
You have a fight target of 7. We're using target minus 3 for this battle, so you need to hit a target, meet or beat a target of 4. So go ahead and roll to test fight. Oh, you rolled a 3, so that is not a hit. Instead, you take damage from the orc. It's a scrawny coal orc, so it's not much damage. He hits you with his scimitar. You take 1 point of damage, so you move your slider up 1 point for damage, and you took an infection. Well, what is your gentleness?
4, so I do take an infection.
All right, so you mark infection next to gentleness on your character sheet. And how would an infected gentleness in this case make your character subscribe act?
Rageful. I might kind of lose focus on the battle and start swinging wildly.
And become ineffective. That's very true. So, like and comment. Like, since comment gave some counseling during the trial, how would you counsel? What verse would you use from your adventure journal to counsel your friend during battle?
I would use Romans 12:19b. Vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord.
All right, and what does that mean to your friend?
It means don't worry about it, the Lord has got your back, vengeance is his, he's just got your back.
Okay, so using our responsibility and repentance, what would you say to your friends?
You're right, I'm letting vengeance cloud me. I'm being a bit too rageful. I should just calm down and stay focused.
Well done, both of you. So you can erase the infection next to gentleness because you've been counseled, and you gained 2 wisdom points for using the sacred verse, and that completes this round of battle. But we still have an orc on the table, so we go to another round. So big gamers might ask at this point, well, wait, when did the orcs get around? We do simultaneous battle. Everything is done by 1 roll. So when you roll, you either hit the creature or the creature hits you, and then the damage done is either the damage you do from your might rating and your weapons capabilities on your character sheet, or the damage is done to you according to the battle ability of the orc in the battle box in the Adventure Master's Guide. So it happens pretty quick, and that allows us to keep moving in the episode and get to our Bible study at the end. Okay, in battle we can run, recite, and fight. which means that we don't lose a turn when we counsel a friend. So now we're back to the next round. It goes back to like, and even though he counseled a friend, he does not lose his turn in this battle. If he had had to move off to the side and read out of his adventure journal, then that would have been his turn. But since he did it from memory, good job, and gained his wisdom points, he gets to continue fighting. So now, like, it's your turn. You can run, recite, and fight. If you want to move, you can, but it looks like you're in a pretty good position here. Recite, you've already used the sacred verse that we have for this lesson, so there's really nothing left there. And fight. So, how would you fight?
My fight is 7, so I gotta roll a 4.
Right, so your fight target is 7, but because this battle we're using target -3, you have to roll a 4, so test fight now. Oh wait, what weapon are you using?
I'm gonna use my common whip.
Okay, gonna use your whip, so test fight with your whip.
5.
Okay, so score, you hit the target. That means that we're gonna look at your character sheet and see what our might rating is.
3.
So because you hit the target, you succeeded in the roll. Now we're gonna do 3 damage because you have a really nice might rating. And so you do 3 damage to the remaining orc, which is orc 2. And orc 2 had already been hit once with a Master of All verse, so there's only 2 points left. Orc 2 is off the board. And that completes our battle. One thing that did not get covered in the practice because we were trying to keep the battle simple is what happens when a creature is not engaged by your players. So you'll see that in the instructions. When a creature is not engaged during a round, that creature still gets to move and or attack your light raiders, and you'll do that. So you'll move the creature and then you'll choose which light raider it's going to attack, usually the nearest and most opportune target. Well done. You've emerged victorious. You unbind the captive and escape to the forest to treat his wounds. You would do this by healing, testing healing with a healing kit, but don't worry about that now. We'll do more on healing later. The next episode is the first episode in the Initiate's Quest, and that also works like a tutorial mode with a lot of step-by-step instructions. So even if something doesn't make total sense today, you're gonna get it. We just learn as we play in this game. So you'll be starting your Light Raider journey at Dayspring Forest Trailhead. Everybody reset your wisdom sliders to what is in the wisdom point box, the WP box on your character sheet, and then reset your damage sliders to 0. All right, so now once we've done all that, we're gonna go to our No Grow Go Bible study in the guide. So every episode wraps up with our Bible study wrap up where we talk about the verses that we used during the episode and go a little deeper, what we know about those, how we can take that and grow in our relationship with Christ, and how we go and be his hands and feet. So that's what's next.